Why the Saints are in trouble against the Buffalo Bills, ladies and gentlemen, off the bench is the backdrop. Nick Underhill, Matt Flynn, Jacob Hester. I guess the easiest answer to that question would be Josh Allen, and that the Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL, and that it's on the road, and that they played in Seattle last week. I will say, now this might be surprising to some or whatever, but the Bills are the worst defense the Saints have played. Like the Bills, especially on the ground. I mean, the Saints played the third best run defense, the seventh best run defense, and the ninth best run defense to start the season. The Bills are currently the 29th run defense. Now, it's only 3 games, but still. So this is, even though it is absolutely the best team the Saints have played, and also the hardest, like the worst spot from playing in Seattle and now playing in Buffalo, even though that's all true, the defense is gettable. And the defense is gettable on the ground. We know the Saints want to run the football. We know Kellen Moore wants to run the football, and that's how this offense is going to have to run, no pun intended. We know that the recipe to success is not Spencer Rattler throwing it 50 times a game, which he's had to the first 3 games. We know the recipe for success is a balanced approach, a lot of running the football, a lot of Alvin Kamara, and a lot of keeping the other team off the field. That's even more important when the other team has Josh Allen. The best defense against Josh Allen is when Josh Allen is sitting on the sidelines with his helmet off. All right, so the Saints are going to have to run the football in this game if they want to keep it competitive or whatever. And through 3 games, the Bills are absolutely gettable on the ground.
Nick, how do you go to Buffalo right now? You're a 3-score dog and create any positive momentum. Like, what's the messaging? You just got house on the road, 44-13. You were up in the Pacific Northwest. Now you got to go across the country to Buffalo, New York, a good football team, and Vegas is saying you're going to lose by 3 scores. How do you create any positive momentum?
It's really tough, and I think this is the danger right now is that you get drilled in Seattle if you get drilled up here. Like I think quickly that puts a test to just kind of where your team's at and where your locker room's at. And I think it's going to be very important. They to a comical degree, they put a lot into like harboring in cultivating a culture with these like field trips and all that stuff. But that's going to be put to the test. Like maybe that's why you did it, because you maybe foresaw this, but like that's really going to be put to the test. And
you finna find out what this locker room is made of if they go up there and get absolutely steamrolled. If they go up there and lose by a touchdown, 10 points, 14 points, whatever, keep it within the number, I think it is what it is. You're expecting to lose this game, okay, fine. But if you get that 40-6, 35-3, if you get something like that where the Bills just destroy you, especially if it's not a game early, especially if it's 21-0 in the first quarter, and then it's just like, damn, this is just a continuation from Seattle. You absolutely do run the risk of the locker room just completely falling apart, especially the guys who are either older in their career or whatever. If you're a young player, I think it kind of falls off your back because you have your whole career in front of you. You're inherently building something, whatever. If you're an older player and it's like, man, I got 1 year, 2 years left, maybe max, then it probably is hard to get up for the rest of the season, all that stuff. And I've had some people in the comment section say like the team is quit or the team is quitting or they're not playing hard or whatever. And I push back on that a little bit because they absolutely did play hard in week 1, week 2. I mean, they fought until the very end. The defense came up with huge stops in both games. Could have won the game, had a chance, whatever. We didn't. It is what it is. But through 67% of this season, 2/3, they absolutely have fought hard. Now, did they give up after it was 35-3? Maybe. I'm not saying, but I don't think you can look at this team in the totality of the 3 games and say the team's not playing hard. Because I think most of the time, a majority of this season, they have in fact played hard. So I think there's a lot of recency bias, I think, with some of that, and which understandable. But you can't look at Seattle and Arizona, or you can't look at Arizona and San Francisco and say that they didn't play hard in those games.
I don't think it's going to be enough. I think you gotta you got to look better than this. Like, you can go up there and you can get beat, but I think the players got to know that they were prepared to get beat and not sent on a dummy mission. And I really think that's the best you can kind of hope for this week. Miami played Buffalo tough on Thursday night. That kind of scares me a little bit, though, like, because that was probably the wake up call for Buffalo. I don't think you catch them sleeping again, and then they get a 10-day break. But they did. I don't know. They got a weird roster, man. Like, you look.
Yeah, Buffalo's weird because Buffalo's one of those teams where Josh Allen is so good that Buffalo's good. But the rest of Buffalo doesn't scare you. You know, like their receivers. Like, are their receivers even better than the Saints receivers? I don't know. You know, like James Cook is good for sure, but James Cook is not Christian McCaffrey. And Christian McCaffrey was held in check on the ground at least. A little different when he was being covered by Pete Werner. And then defensively, like I said, their run defense is horrible. We know that. So it really shows you how good Josh Allen is and just how much he can grab that team. You know, it's crazy, man. Like, you see some of these franchises, like, and the Bills are a good example where, and the Chiefs are kind of a good example right now, where you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Josh Allen. Why are you not just outfitting them with studs all around them? Why are you not making the move to trade for Tyreek Hill right now? Like, why aren't you making the move to sign whoever free agent wide receiver, you know, whoever's available? Like, why those teams never do that. And I think it's always interesting. Like, Aaron Rodgers went through that his entire career in Green Bay, where he just had nobody. He just had no one with him. And I guess the idea is, well, they're good enough. They can kind of, you know, the Tom Brady effect, where Tom Brady had just kind of random players for most of his career. And then finally he gets Randy Moss, and we all saw what happened there. So, but yeah, the roster is weird. The roster is interesting. I mean, there's no doubt about it. When you look at, you know, Christian McCaffrey or even JSN or players like that, you know, like, they are better than the players that the Bills have. But quarterback's the most important position, you know?
Got it. And there's, like, not a ton of great playmakers. Like, there's Josh Allen and, you know, they got a good tight end. The receivers are just average. James Cook is obviously really good, but it isn't like a super loaded team, but, like, they're just, like, so much better. They're just so well coached, man. They're so well put together. And, you know,
well, Sean McDermott gets a lot of flack too. And Sean McDermott has made huge mistakes. And I don't know, I think defensively he's a great coach for sure. But I think as a head coach, you know, he still has a little bit left to desire. Joe Brady, polarizing figure, but Joe Brady will be calling the offense. We've seen in the past, you know, they've had some issues with offensive coordinators. So the Bills have had a weird coaching staff as well. They're not as, they haven't been as, like, galvanized, I think, as some of these other big-time teams with their coaching staffs.
That guy is just an absolute monster. I was looking at his stats, like, outside of the pocket by 3 to 4 yards. Like, if you just let him get out, like, he always wants to go to the right. Weirdly enough, he never wants to go left. But, like, the numbers on those throws are just, like, unbelievable. It's like 17 yards average depth of target on him. Like, he's just going to go down the field. And, like, they didn't do a good job of covering guys late in the plays last week. There was a scramble drill on one. Alante got beat on it. Like, if you're asking these guys to cover for 3.5, 4.5, 5 seconds, I don't know. I just don't know if they have the talent to do it. But that goes back to what Flynn was saying before. Like, if you get beat on some of those, I think you can still hang your head. But, like, it's like if you go out there and you're just shooting yourself in the foot over and over and over, I don't know. I think it's a mission critical this week just for them to be cleaned up and playing well. And, you know, people talk about Seattle being a tough atmosphere. I'm sure you guys have been to Buffalo before. Like, that, to me, that's the toughest atmosphere in the world. Like, you're literally.
It is nice that it's not a night game. If it was a night game, it'd be impossible. But there is 2 games being played on Sunday. There's the game against Buffalo, and then there's the game against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints cannot do what they did against Seattle, and that's, you know, obvious. They cannot give up special teams mishaps. They cannot miss field goals. They cannot have horrible penalties to extend the drive. They have to clean that up. And week 1 was a mess when it came to penalties and all that. Week 2 was cleaned up a little bit. And then week 3 was a disaster all around. So, yeah, the Saints are playing the Buffalo Bills. But the Saints are also playing their own special teams, their own kind of infrastructure and operations. That all is absolutely happening. So, yeah, you're going to be tracking the score. You're going to be tracking down and distance. You're going to be tracking that kind of stuff. But you also need to be tracking pre-snap penalties, just execution on special teams, what's actually happening on the field. Are the Saints allowing drives to be extended on third down, either by long conversions or by penalties, things like that. And then if all of that is okay and cleaned up and whatever, then you can almost move on to, all right, well, what's the score? Like, what's actually happening here? What quarter is it?
You're seeing like townspeople setting themselves on fire in the parking lot on the way to the stadium, like literally on fire. Like it's the biggest thing in the world, and like that atmosphere is unbelievable. I mean, this is going to be a very, very tough game.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely put it in top three. Unfortunately, Kansas City, Seattle, Buffalo, probably my top three, and the Saints are playing back-to-back in Seattle and Buffalo. So that's good. Yeah. Good news.
Last week was the Saints' wake-up call. If the Bills had a wake-up call, we got one too.
All right.
That part is kind of true, where if you can't get, like, after what the Saints went through in Seattle, if you cannot get to practice and realize you got to get some stuff figured out, like the special teams team, I would assume they took those reps very seriously this week. The offensive line, even Chris Olave, he had a couple of whoopsie-poopsie penalties pre-snap. Things like that had to have been the emphasis this week of practice. And if you go up there to Seattle and what happened to you happens, like, and if you can't get up at practice and you don't care and you're not drilling that stuff down hard, again, that's a player issue. And that's something where moving forward, they're going to have to, make some roster moves or whatever. But yeah, I mean, God, I would think, if the Saints, if they go out there and there's special teams problems again, and there's pre-snap penalties again and all that stuff, I mean, that would be shocking to me after how bad Seattle was.
It's going to go long, and I apologize. Last question for you, Nick. So much online of tank for this player, tank for that player, tank for the quarterback. And my message has been, this team is not a quarterback issue right now. It is a team issue. And there's some things that Spencer Rattler, I think, has done that have proven that he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL, just from my perspective. It's a short sample size. We know that. But it's not just a tank for player X. This player is way farther away, I think, than player X.
Well, it's so no team very rarely is a team player X away when they're bad. Obviously, like really good teams like the Rams, when they traded for Matthew Stafford, yeah, okay, they're player X away. But bad teams are not player X away. Bad teams are organizational structure away, infrastructure away, culture away. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. Now, you have to nail your draft picks for sure. Like, you have to develop and get talent in order to be a talented team. But this is not a blow it up draft, fill in the blank, whether it's Reuben Bain or Dante Moore or Fernando Mendoza or Arch Manning, LOL, or Garrett Nussmeier or whoever. It is not that. I mean, we see it time and time and time and time again where the Trevor Lawrences and the Andrew Lucks and the Joe Burrows and the players like that who can't miss, generational, Caleb Williams. I mean, some of those players were like, cannot miss. No doubt about it. Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Like, you get them, even if they are what you thought they were, like Andrew Luck and Joe Burrow. Even if they are that, it doesn't equate to organizational success, infrastructure, culture. What's the problem in Cincinnati right now? The problem in Cincinnati right now is the entire organization, the infrastructure of the franchise, how they do things up there. The defense, was the problem last year. Joe Burrow has been everything is advertised. I mean, yeah, he's been injured, but when he's on the field, everything is advertised, and the Bengals can't get out of their own way. All right. Now, then you have some players who are can't miss, like Marvin Harrison Jr. He was as can't miss a wide receiver prospect as Calvin Johnson. And people are looking at him like, I don't know, man, this guy might be a bust. Like he had an all right second half against the Seahawks, but that shows you how bad he's been, where, 6 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. It's like, thank God he's arrived, when really that should be his baseline for what kind of a prospect he was coming out of college. So it is way more than just the draft. It is way more than that when it comes to fixing or turning around a team or whatever. And that's where it's easy to want to skip forward and just say, like, forget this season, tank 0-17, get to the draft. But really, and I had a great comment on a video this week, but I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something to the tune of, the Saints are a team with no expectations that's being held to the standard of a playoff team. And that is so true. They are a team where this entire offseason, everyone said this is a 3, 4, 5, 6 win team. 6 was on the high end. We predicted 6-11. This was mostly the worst team in the NFL, winless, number 1 overall pick, whatever. But now that they're 0-3, I mean, there was a video, I can't remember who it was, it might have been off the bench. The headline was, "Is the Saints season over?" What? How can a team with expectations of being 3-14 or 4-13 or 5-12 or 6-11, how can that team's season be over when you're 0-3? You know, and I know this is not fun to hear. It is not enjoyable to go through a season like this. But what we have to watch is the culture being created? Is the operational efficiency there? Are things getting better? Is there a trend line up? If there is not, yeah, that's a problem. If we're in week 15, 16, 17, and we're having penalty issues, and Kellen Moore's having timeout issues, and we're making mistakes, and game theory, like if we're making bad decisions and whatever, problem, huge problem, no doubt about it. But that should take the precedence of, what are the young players doing? Can the young players, is there something to build on? Is there something to grow with? Are there players that can be here in 2-3 years? Is there elements of this roster where, all right, yeah, overall not great, we're 5-12 or we're a 4-win team, 3-win team, whatever, but this little chunk here or this chunk here, this is okay, we can build on that. That is what this season is made of. This season is not made of, can we win the NFC South? Can we turn things around and win 10 games? Can we do, like, that is not what this season is based on at all, which is why it's surprising when I see people say the season's over when you're 0-3, so.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They're multiple players away. They need everything, man. Like, putting Kelvin Banks aside, I am not sure that the Saints have a player on their roster right now that you could trade for a first-round pick, and I think that's a very, very hard thing to do.
It's true.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, our best trade asset is Chris Olave. That's our best trade asset because he's our best player, and he's young, and right now he's on a rookie deal, and he's got a 5th-year option and all that stuff. But even Chris Olave, it's like, he's probably high. He's definitely a 2nd-round pick, but 2nd round, maybe if he has a really good year, maybe back into the 1st round is what you could kind of get for him. But yeah, I mean, there's there's absolutely no one else on the team that you'd even entertain a 1st-round pick for. Olave is absolutely the best trade value we have, and he's probably a 2nd-round pick, I would think.
I haven't looked at the whole league, but I feel like there's a lot of guys on other teams where you're like, oh, yeah, I give up a 1st for him. Like, I don't know that they have.
I think that's a misnomer, though. I don't think so. I think if you look at a lot of teams, I think you'd be surprised at how few players you'd actually trade for a 1st-round pick. I mean, I'd have to go and do the numbers, but yeah, I think if you look at the bottom of the league, I think you're going to take away rookies, because obviously a rookie that just got drafted in the 1st, yeah, you trade a 1st for him. But I think if you look across the league, there's a lot of teams that are really devoid of talent, and you wouldn't, no one on those teams would fetch a 1st-round pick. I mean, obviously teams like Carolina, teams like, even like Miami, I mean, like, no one's trading a 1st-round pick for Tyreek Hill. No one's trading a 1st-round pick for Jalen Waddle or Tua or Devon Achane or players like that. So I think you'd be surprised if you went through the teams of who you trade a 1st-round pick. Even Buffalo. Take Josh Allen out, right? On their offense, you're not trading a 1st-round pick for any of their playmakers, Dalton Kincaid, James Cook, like any of those players. So. Yeah, like I said, I think the 1st-round thing is very Madden. Like people think like, oh, you can always trade someone for a thirsty firsty, but I think it's a little more rare than people think.
That guy, and that's a tough place to be. Yeah, it's probably not a quarterback issue. I think if you do end up with the first pick, though, like you're evaluating, against Mateer, Mendoza, Nuss, Sellers, all these guys.
Yeah.
For me, like, give me Bain right now. That's probably the guy.
Yeah, Ruben Baines, who I've said would be the first. I don't know if he's the first overall pick. He'd had to have one hell of a season to take a defensive lineman first overall over all those quarterbacks. But if he does put together an Abdul Carter type year, yeah, no problem. Take him first overall. So, and that's not even a Spencer Rattler thing. I think it's just, I'm not saying Rattler is so good you don't take a quarterback first overall. I think it's just where the quarterbacks are any of them truly a first overall pick? Quarterback isn't your biggest issue. And when you have multiple issues like the Saints do, you want to just get the best player. You want to start stacking up the best players, and you still do have the unknown factor in Tyler Shuck. So if Shuck can be something, or Rattler can be something, and buys you a year while you bring in talent, you start drafting. Like you draft Bain, you draft wide receivers, you draft defensive linemen, you draft whatever you want to draft, and you start trying to fill up that roster, and then you find your quarterback.
Yeah, that I would want to draft for the Saints, but I haven't seen enough of the quarterbacks to know. But that pass rusher, man, like that's a desperate thing. I don't think they had an edge player get a pressure in this last game, and that's another thing that's really, really hard to do. It's not one guy.
Speaking of the Dolphins, I saw today where the Dolphins are blitzing the most in the NFL. This is crazy. I don't think this has ever happened. They're blitzing the most in the NFL, but they have the least amount of pressures in the NFL. Oh, that is bad. That is horrible. That's almost impossible.
One option, hopefully, like if they end up with the number one pick, maybe you try to, man, it's week 3 of the season. We're already talking about this. It's crazy. But like maybe maybe you're trying to get Cleveland to give you both of their first to come up and get whoever. Who's the number one quarterback right now? Like it's probably Sellers, right?
No. Right now you got well, depends on your personal preference, but from what I've seen mock draft wise, you've got Fernando Mendoza, you've got Mateer isn't a first overall pick right now, but you have Mendoza, Carson Beck. I think a lot of people, all of a sudden he's shooting up now, which no surprise. We'll learn a lot when it comes to this Penn State-Oregon game. If either Aller or Dante Moore has a huge game, I could see either one of them all of a sudden being the first overall pick, or the projected first quarterback on. Sellers is probably I don't want to say the Anthony Richardson, but he's the guy where it's like, man, if you can bottle up this talent, Jesus. I mean, he's a freak, but I don't know if he's done enough to be the first overall pick.
I mean, I think that changes on a week-to-week basis.
I think the cat from Indiana is
Mendoza's look great.
Crawling up.
Man, he looked awesome. Yeah, like
he looks the
like
part.
Running all the RPOs, like that fits like right into the Kellen's offense too. Yeah. Like he looked amazing.
Right now, Mendoza's like the best version of Tyler Shuck. Like he's like 6'5", 230, something like that, 6'5", 220. Runs the RPO. I don't think he's thrown an interception yet. He's like 14 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Amazing in that game. I think that offense is really well put together too. Like they look great.
I think if you had the number one pick and you go quarterback, it would be. You're not. I don't know if you're going to improve. Like I think you got to get as much draft capital as you can.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the best. It might be one of those things where you do try and trade down. I mean, obviously, like it takes two to tango, but the best trade value asset the Saints have right now probably is their draft pick. And if you do have the first overall pick and you can get a team to make a hasty trade and you go from 1 to 5 or 1 to 4 and you're still getting a top 5 pick, but now you get a little more capital, that is probably what you do.
And hope that Mickey drafts better.
I would always do that. I would always do that.
Yeah. Okay, that's depressing.
All right. We're doing
Nick,
great.
We love you. Thank you for coming on every single Tuesday. We appreciate
Soft shell tacos.
Told you we'd get the low vibes by the end of it. So
yeah,
I know. I accomplished my task.
Yeah. Well done, Nick. Good job.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
All right. Nick Underhill, New Orleans football.
Crazy. Okay, what's going on here? I'm more of a soft taco guy, I think. I like the soft taco. The hard tacos are cool for one bite, and then it's just a disaster. Then you just have glass shards in your hands. Soft taco, solid move. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good conversation there. I'm on a different freaking level. I'll see y'all in the next video.